To engineering in AI for the last 3 years, as well as owning an education business also in AI here in Switzerland at multiple universities, teaching hundreds of students around AI, I learned one thing. Ideally, you should be building your AI product with the anticipation of the model that's actually coming out in 6 or so months from today. So you're basically reverse engineering the future LLM capabilities. In today's video, I want to take kind of this mental artifact and would want to break down a little bit a deep dive into the Claude Mythos preview. It's essentially a preview of a future model that's potentially will drop similar capabilities maybe into Opus lineup, but more on that in a second. And then also in today's video, I want to quickly break down just the very latest news that we received a few hours ago from Anthropic and Claude Managed Agents. These two releases and these two previews somewhat go hand in hand, and they go quite well with what I just said at the beginning of the video, basically building with anticipation what it's actually possible in the future. So just to quickly set the stage, first on the system card, Claude Mythos preview. It's specifically a preview because the model was basically labeled to be too powerful to be released to the broader public, mostly for cybersecurity concerns. And without going through all the hundreds and hundreds of pages here, let me quickly jump to the page 188, which is basically a quick of an overview, I would say, the ones we builders are usually checking. Pairing Claude Mythos again as preview based on cybersecurity reasons with Opus 4.6, the de facto best-in-class, best model out there that more or less is running the entire enterprise B2B sector on artificial intelligence, aside from obviously for startups, many open source models as well. What we want to quickly highlight isn't all the fancy and needy and greedy numbers that of course we're anticipating from one of the latest models, but a few of these numbers, just holistically speaking, they kind of imply one thing, summarized very specifically on one slide. The next generation of model, again with the anticipation of your AI building activities, are really set to set the stage basically for long-running agents. It's really for the long-running tasks. Of course, that would entail that we need improvements in software engineering, coherence of code development, but at the same time kind of validation and sub-checking before a task is handed over to a human or to another agent. So just this conundrum from multi-stage back to the user within a few minutes is now really being extended drastically to hours or potentially even in 2027 maybe days of actually uninterrupted agentic workloads. And that's exactly what we've seen here with the release, up to 10 hours. Of course, it was more or less anticipated, a bunch of jumps in all the latest benchmarks. But ultimately, what is actually just entailing, of course, jumps is quite significant, is really we have now also just received a preview of exactly the feature that Anthropic has in mind actually be shipping quite frequently after such a model release. Again, Mythos or probably the next Opus series. And this is basically an agentic managed platform where you don't have to care about all the setups, all the infrastructure build, all the evals and everything around building agents, again, from sandboxing to memory management, file persistence, checkpointing, and so on and so forth. So the whole array, that's at least the value proposition that was now shipped by Anthropic, is fully managed by Anthropic Claude, again, in this video. But what I specifically find unique just on the timing, of course, this is no coincidence. Yesterday, there was a drop of the model that's exactly capable of running such long agentic tasks. And the next day, we see a preview of, again, just an agentic builder on steroids, essentially, that you as a builder don't have to do all the needy and greedy of setting all things up. One particular element, though, that I would want to quickly just wrap up the video is all in regard to memory. I think there was another quick, I would say, reference point from Andrei Karpathy. Maybe you've seen that already in the news and especially here on Twitter. The core idea is once you have these long-running agent tasks, what you would want to have is a persistent memory, or at least some sort of a logbook that after task is executed, the large language models, or in other words, a multitude of AI agents that you're running, that they're kind of having some sort of task to actually create a persistent compounding artifact, meaning some sort of a wiki, right? So ultimately, I think this is probably one of the missing building blocks. So every time a task is executed, there needs to be some sort of a write into a memory file, or in that particular core idea proposal by Andrei Karpathy, basically a markdown file. And ideally, this would enable kind of this compounding artifact that task has been executed, but there's some sort of system of records of these particular tasks. So of course, he goes all about just explaining potential use cases for us AI builders, building in the business and I would say just financial domains for generating money ultimately with an AI business. I think these two particular components are super interesting. Of course, from a team perspective, yes, we can use this type of kind of Wiki model, basically just to be injecting all the day-to-day workload, the day-to-day ops of a particular business. But even probably more interestingly, if you have some sort of a multi-agent system in the realm like we do on finance or some financial analysis or anything in between, of course, you would want to have this accumulation of knowledge actually happening within the system. Not every time there's a new task being pulled, for example, generate a due diligence memo or generate some sort of a different artifact like an Excel in whatever particular way the company would want. There's some accumulated knowledge. The agent can actually go retrieve that and then execute the task accordingly. This, of course, highly interlinks with skills, with harnesses, maybe put a video here on the screen as well that we've shot just recently explaining that. But ultimately, again, this is just one of the missing building blocks. If you want to engineer it yourself, you probably have to have some sort of a memory system. If you want to have a fully managed work being done already for you in the sense of Anthropic, here the question mark is again, how much customization is actually needed for you as a builder? So you can essentially be leveraging this tool to then implement into a customer. And or if you want to have more, let's say, degrees of freedom behind the scene and not be incredibly, I would say, locked into the Anthropic platform, you as an AI builder can look at this again with the mindset I mentioned at the beginning of the video as probably the next frontier. What exactly will be the enablement coming the next models somewhere over summer or fall 2026. So that was it, just a brief update again on Claude Mythos. I'm super excited about, of course, the next model drop, what it actually entails for us AI builders, and then subsequently today on a quick update in regard to managed agents from Anthropic. So that being said, see you in the next video. Take care.